Everybody.
Okay, happy Wednesday. I almost didn't know what it was. My name is Alex, and I am super excited to be here and spend about 30 to 45 minutes cooking these three meals with you. I am not a trained chef. I am just a mom that loves to cook, and this has been definitely a journey for me. When I was in the WCCA, I had no clue what healthy eating was, no clue, what meal planning or prepping was. So this has definitely been a journey to me, and I think there are so many benefits of meal planning that I've seen for myself and my family. So my goal is always to spend less time in the kitchen and more time at the table with people that you love. So I know if you guys have any questions on here, you can put it in the chat and I will look at the chat, but I'm going to make the food. I love meal prepping and meal planning are two different things. Meal planning is just a plan. It's laying out your meals. I write down my meals, and it doesn't mean that you can't pivot from that. Things come up. So I typically, when I'm meal planning, I will order the groceries until Wednesday, and then on Thursday, I'll reevaluate my meal plan. So I'll see if I'm tired of cooking, if plans have changed, so I don't have a bunch of leftover groceries. I think putting it down also holds you a little bit accountable. And I know sometimes with little kids, we tend to get into the habit of making like 3 or 4 meals for our husband and then us and different meals. So my goal is really to help people make one meal for their family, and you can change it up with different sides and different things. And remember that meals to be healthy don't have to be complicated. Just keep it simple. Think about, a meat, a starch, and some sort of fruit or veggie. That's the way to think about it. My one tip for meal planning is if you don't like meal planning, pair it with something that you do like. So I know that I will save a favorite podcast for that specific time when I do meal plan. And that way I actually look forward to it. I also do that with laundry because I don't love doing laundry. But so start it as a habit, plan one meal at a time. Do it with something that you like, listening to music. Maybe you want to drink your favorite cocktail or, whatever you want to do. And try to do it the same time every week. Set an alarm on your phone, and then it'll become more of a habit of doing that. So those are my few tips for meal planning. And tonight I have a couple things that we're going to make, and I have some tips. The first thing we're going to do is, I have to put on my glasses, is a Southwest chicken. I love marinating meats. I think it's such a good way to get good protein in. You can even prep it for the week. You don't have to also make a marinade from homemade. There are lots of good dressings out there that are different brands. I love Primal Kitchen and I love Tezeme's. Those are really clean brands that you can basically put, you can put chicken, you can put pork, those are types of things. I will often buy flank steak at Costco and marinate it and put it in the freezer. Meal planning and meal prepping can also save you money, because if you see a particular thing on sale, buy some of it and use it. When you are meal planning, don't forget to go through your pantry and your fridge and use the stuff that you have. My family and I, we try to grill every Sunday, and I like to say, while the grill is hot, grill a lot. That way you can put on some stuff on the grill, even if you're not going to eat it that night, but you can have some extra things. So tonight we're doing a Southwest chicken, and one thing I want to show you also about seasonings. Seasonings are a great way to add flavor to meats without, adding a lot of extra calories or fat. I will often make my own seasoning, and that sounds fancy, but it's really not. This is a taco seasoning that I like, and I will send out this recipe that I just always have on hand. It's great to have on hand for last minute dinner so that you can make tacos and just go and buy some ground beef or go and buy some ground turkey. So having seasonings on hand is really, really great. So what you do is I just put it in a Ziploc bag. And when we are done with this, make sure you write the date and then also what's in the bag, because I have found myself having a lot of stuff in my freezer and forgetting what I put in there. So the first thing we're going to do is we are just going to take the bag and I'll put it in. We're going to put a clove of garlic in, and I want to show you my little trick. I want to make sure it doesn't fall out, for garlic and ginger. So I used to buy those jars of garlic, but there's actually a lot of additives in there. So I love these frozen ginger and garlic trays. So it's just garlic and it's just ginger. So I use these all the time. So what we're gonna do is you just pop it out. They're just frozen in here. And you just put that in your bag. So we've got 1 clove of garlic. We're gonna put lemon juice. It says fresh lemon juice. You know, that is a lot of work to have fresh lemon juice. I love this brand, Santa Cruz Organic. I use this for lemon juice. I also use their lime juice for margaritas. So that is really good. So I'm gonna put a tablespoon of lemon in there. You'll find a lot of marinades will have lemon or lime in there, and that's just part of the marinade that's in there. You need that acid to make it taste good. Then we're gonna put in 1/4 teaspoon of cumin, 1/4 teaspoon pepper, and 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. I use my spices all the time. So having a really good, well-stocked pantry of spices is great. Where's my pepper? I want to show you the salt that I use. I use this is actually from Donalds, a pink Himalayan salt. So this is a lot better than the Morton salt that we grew up with because it has no additives in it as well. It's just salt. When you're looking at some of the spices like a taco seasoning at the grocery store, make sure you look at the back of the label because there's a lot of added sugars. They're called like dextrose, maldextrose. And so a lot of those have added sugars in them. And that is also why I make my own, which isn't that hard to do. So cumin, we're going to put 1/4 teaspoon cumin in here. I put the salt and pepper. We're going to put some oregano in here. I also love going to like a Trader Joe's for spices. I think they have a ranch seasoning that you could just put straight up on your chicken and then just put it in the oven, which is great too. Then we're gonna add some chili powder. Now, if your kids don't like something a little hot, then I would suggest maybe not adding the chili powder. This is only 1/4 teaspoon, so it's really not that much. Then we're gonna add some oil in there. Most marinades have olive oil in them. And we're just going to put a little bit of that in there. It says 1/2 tablespoon. I just sort of drop it in there. And then there is also fresh cilantro. You can use dried. So it's a tablespoon of fresh or a teaspoon of dried, whatever you have. I do have some fresh cilantro, so I'm going to put that in there. One thing I want to let you know is one of my favorite really easy recipes is a cilantro rice. I'm a huge fan of microwavable rice. And what you do is then it's like the Chipotle rice. You just add a little bit of fresh lime juice, some salt, well, lots of salt because the rice is salty, and some fresh cilantro. And my kids like love the cilantro rice. And that's just a really easy side dish. You can make some extra. You can put it in your fridge so you have that ready to go. So you're just going to mix up all the chicken. I like to use tenderloins, but that's my personal preference. You can use regular chicken breast, tenderloins, you can use thin cut breast, whatever you want. So this is something that you can also do the night before you're going to have dinner. And something like a marinated chicken, you can put in the air fryer, you can bake it on a sheet pan, you can grill it, whatever you're going to do. If you are not going to cook this in the next probably 2 days, I would suggest putting this in your freezer. And this is just something so great to have on hand that you can have as like a quick and easy meal. So I love marinades. So that's my first one. Huge fan of marinades. If anyone needs any marinade recipes, let me know. I have a pork and a flank steak that my kids just request all the time. I even bring these recipes with me on vacation because they're quick and easy. Okay. Is there any questions about that? I'm just looking. No. Okay. Ask questions. I love questions because I could just talk for hours about this. Overnight oats. So you guys are all like really busy moms. You're on the go. You work at home. You work outside. Overnight oats are a great thing to take on the go. And I love overnight oats because you can personalize them to the flavors that you like. This is a really good recipe. Eating Bird Food. I love all her recipes. If you looked it up when I sent you the email. She has great baked oats. She has good dinners. So I definitely recommend for finding some like good family-friendly recipes to look up her recipes. She has a cinnamon raisin protein ball, which I always have in my freezer. I'm not a huge fan of chocolate, so I love cinnamon raisin. It tastes like a cinnamon raisin cookie. And that's something that, making the protein balls, there's so many different recipes out there that you can make with your kids and enjoy them, but you can freeze them in little snack baggies, which is a great idea. And if they don't have, nuts, you can have them bring them to school. So she's a really good website for that. So what we're going to do first is I am going to mix it up in a bowl. I often will make a lot of overnight oats for my husband as well, for him to take to work, because it's just so easy. When you're getting oats, if you're gluten-free, make sure that you're looking that they're certified gluten-free. Oats are naturally gluten-free, but if they're overly processed, which there are some out there, they are not. So I'm just going to I put in here a 1/4 cup of yogurt. You can use Greek yogurt, which is great for extra protein. I actually put some coconut milk yogurt just because it's dairy free, but you can use almond milk yogurt. You can use any yogurt that your family likes. Adding the yogurt to the overnight oats just gives it an extra creamy texture, which I enjoy. So we put in the yogurt, 1/2 cup of rolled oats. Then I'm going to add 1/2 cup of milk. I am adding almond milk, and again, add what your family likes. You can use regular milk, but if you want to be dairy free, I just found this brand. It's called 3 Trees. I got it from Wegmans, and it's a very clean almond milk, and I'm just excited to have found it. After that, you can put in 1 to 2 teaspoons of maple syrup or honey. This will give it, depending if you're a vegan or not, this will give it a little bit of an extra flavor. So I am going to put some maple syrup in there. Again, when I was talking about reading the labels for spices, there's just a lot of hidden, extra ingredients in foods that don't need it. Maple syrup is one of those. Like, I grew up on log cabin, Aunt Jemima. But this is just a pure maple syrup. So when you're using that, if you want to watch the extra things that are going into your food, you definitely can. We're also going to add chia seeds in this. Chia seeds are an awesome source of fiber. Fiber keeps you full. And so by adding just like a tablespoon in here, or you can also add it to your smoothies. I will often do that, or adding extra seeds. It's good protein, good fiber. So those are great to have in little containers in your house. I'm also going to put a little vanilla extract in here to give it a little bit of flavor. Then I'm just going to mix it up. And depending on the consistency of what you like, you can eat these after a couple hours in your fridge, or you can keep them, they're called overnight oats. So it looks just like that right now. You can see like a little sloppy. Then I'm going to put it in a container. I wanted to show you 2 containers that I love, because I think when you are meal prepping, it's important to have containers that are really useful for what you're doing. This is one that is just a square. I use this all the time for overnight oats. I really, really love it. This is another meal prep container that I have that I got off Amazon, and I'll send it in the email that we sent. It has 2 compartments. I will use this a lot if I'm doing a chicken and a rice, or if I'm doing some veggies and hummus. But these are good for on the go, and this goes into the dishwasher, and it's great. I love it because it's pink. They also have ones that are just 1 container. They also have one that's a 3-sectional container. So you could also use those for your kids' school too. And also with overnight oats, what makes them great is you can top them with all different toppings. So you can use berries, you can put bananas, you could put some granola, you can put nuts, you can do some extra seeds. So chocolate chips, a little peanut butter drizzle. There's lots of ways that you can have those and get a really good meal. So overnight oats, let me send you. See, this doesn't take that long. The last thing we're going to do are some chicken enchiladas, and I might not do the whole thing. I'm making this meal for actually a friend of mine, so I'm excited about it. Again, looking for meals that you can make ahead and then potentially freeze, and those meals where you can just put them into the oven, or you could defrost them, are really a great idea for you guys, for busy moms on the go. If you have never done also a freezer meal, there's a lot of recipes out there where you can put the whole meal in a Ziploc bag, and then basically it's like a dump meal that they call it, and you can put it in your slow cooker. I'm a huge fan of slow cooking because you're letting the slow cooker do the work for you. I love shredded chicken in there. I do a ton. I probably use my slow cooker 3 times a week just to make dinner. I do Mongolian beef in there. I do pork. I'm doing a pulled pork this week in there. It's also a great way to meal prep because you can make a lot of food in there. And so that you can have extras. For instance, the shredded chicken that I made, you can freeze that as well. You can put it in a Ziploc bag and freeze it for later use. Something like a plain shredded chicken has so many uses. We're using it now in enchiladas. You can use it in quesadillas, nachos. You can use it in rice bowls. There's so many ways to use just plain shredded chicken. And I will often have that and some barbecue sauce for my kids to make a meal. So let's do the chicken enchiladas. These are really, really good. Doesn't require a lot of ingredients. So, and you can swap out some of these. So what I did was I sort of pre-made the sauce. What I did not put in there was the onions because I wanted to show you these. One of the things I do not like is to chop. So anyway, anytime I can find a shortcut to chopping, I will. And these are actually frozen onions that I just took out. So this recipe called for a cup of chopped onion. If you're using a regular onion, 1 onion is about a cup of onion. So I'm putting that on my stove in the saucepan. And I'm going to turn this on so it gets to a little simmer. Also in there, what we have is I put a cup of chicken stock. Chili powder, again, goes for the chili powder depending on what your family likes. Cumin, garlic powder. The recipe calls for crushed red pepper. I did leave that out because that is a little too spicy for my kiddos. There's salt, there's unsalted tomato sauce, which is just like a can of tomato sauce. One thing I also did is they call for a tablespoon of flour, and what that flour is doing is just a thickening agent. The person I'm making this recipe for is actually gluten-free. So what I did was, I've never played around with this recipe with gluten-free flour. I don't know if it would work the same, but what I did instead to use as a thickening agent, which is gluten-free, is a tablespoon of cornstarch and a tablespoon of water. So you make it together like a little slurry, and I'm going to put that in as well because that will serve as a thickening agent for this sauce, and that's what you want to do. So I'll put that together here, and it's going to heat up a little bit. Do that. Okay. So while I'm doing that, you're going to wrap some tortillas. I did corn tortillas. You can do flour tortillas. You're going to put it on a damp cloth and put these in the microwave. The reason is because we're going to fold them, and it'll be a little bit easier to work with them once they are hot. Because if they come right out of the fridge, they're not going to be really easy to work with. Once the sauce is going, what I'm going to put in my bowl, you're making the filling for the enchilada. And here's my shredded chicken. It's about 3 cups of shredded chicken. When you make a shredded chicken with like 3 pounds of chicken, which is what a normal recipe calls for, you'll get probably about 6 cups. So that's a good amount of chicken that you can make in one swoop with the slow cooker. I also have a can of beans in here. If your family likes a different bean, like a pinto bean, you can also do that as well. You can also, if your family is a vegetarian, you could make some of these with a roasted sweet potato or roasted cauliflower instead of the chicken. You could also add some of that to this mixture because the mixture in the tortillas is essentially just shredded chicken, the sauce, and the black beans. So I am going to, those tortillas, I'm going to put them in a little bit longer. And this is something that you could make tonight and eat, or you could also save it, put it in your fridge for a few days, and you would be totally fine to have it in a few days. And things like, I don't know if anyone makes like a lasagna, you could do like a Mexican lasagna with corn tortillas. Those are also really, really good things to make in advanced stuffed shells. All those sort of make ahead meals. Um, my husband grew up with like a chicken tetrazzini. I know with little kids, it's just always good to just have something that you can just pop into the oven. So casseroles are definitely a great idea. I make a chicken teriyaki one, which is brown rice and teriyaki sauce and some chicken, which is great. So this sauce is getting a little thicker. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Yes, I do have a question. This is Hannah. Hi, thank you so much. My question for you is on rice. I love those kind of 90-second packets of like microwave it, you get some good rice going. I struggle with reheating it. So if my family doesn't finish it that first night, if it's like the next day or 2 days later, it can just get hard. Do you have any tips? Or is that maybe just because I'm using the microwavable rice?
No, what kind are you buying? Like the Uncle Ben's, like in the pouch?
Exactly. Yep, in a pouch.
Okay, so what I would recommend, have you ever tried the frozen rice?
No.
I feel like that doesn't, I know this like firsthand because tonight I did like one of those orange bags of Uncle Ben's rice and I noticed that it was clumpy. I love the microwavable rice from Trader Joe's or Wegmans. I think that has a much better consistency of reheating because I'm not a huge fan of reheating food or leftovers. I do it more out of necessity. But yeah, I would try the microwavable rice because those pouches, there's a lot of moisture in there. And I think that's why it clumps together.
Perfect. Thank you. I was at Wegmans today and I heard you guys talking about the rotisserie chicken earlier. I got their rotisserie chicken for tonight, but normally I'm a Market Basket rotisserie chicken. So we've got some good options around here.
We do. Someone asked a question. You're welcome. Can you share the recipe? Yes, I will share the recipe for the chicken teriyaki. And you know what is funny about that is it's a recipe that calls for frozen vegetables, but every kid is, some kids like it, some kids don't. So I actually don't put the frozen vegetables in and I make the homemade teriyaki sauce with some rice. And then I just do steamed broccoli on the side. So I will definitely send you that. It's one of my go-tos. I'll make you can make 4 of them and just put them in your freezer and it works well. All right, the sauce is still cooking. Let's see a little bit. So what I'm going to do is then what we're going to do is take the sauce and put it in the bowl with the chicken and beans. And you're just going to mix it up. And that's your filling for the tortillas. And you know what I'll do is I'll put some of it on the bottom. You could just put some sauce on the bottom. Just so that everything doesn't stick to the pan. I'm using a aluminum pan. Yeah, and this is a great meal. Like if you're making a meal for one of your friends that had a baby or, someone's sick, I always will make extra for myself, and I think that's great to have on hand is something like this. So since you guys aren't cooking, you don't need to watch me do this. I'll just show you what I'm doing. So you just take the tortilla and what we're going to do is put some of the filling in it and I'll show you the filling. The filling is like this. And this makes 12 of these and you're going to wrap it up and then put them in the pan seam side down. Then what you're going to do is just put a little Mexican cheese. I actually found this taco seasoning cheese on here. And then I'm just going to put it in the fridge and then I'm going to reheat it later. I would reheat it because it has cheese on top with some aluminum foil because I think the cheese will get too burnt if you don't do that. So one other thing I wanted to show you is this is a great brand. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. Siete chips. They make tortilla shells too. I'm gonna give my friend this with the tortilla chips. So this is a grain-free brand that Everything is really, really good. They have a nacho cheese chip that tastes like a Dorito to me, not to my kids, but I think it's like a little treat. They also have a ranch one, but that is a really, really good brand. So those are the things that we had. And as you can see, if I finish the casserole, I just could make 3 things in under 30 minutes. I think everyone's time, especially you moms, because you have little kids, using your time wisely is important. And I think just, taking that time to meal plan and then take it a step further. If you do have extra time to meal prep, it will make a difference. And I think the biggest thing for young moms is that stress, is the stress of what is for dinner? How am I going to feed my family? I have to stop by the grocery store. So I think just having a loose plan in place and then, making that easy also for making leftovers. I know with the shredded chicken, I'm going to do chicken sandwiches one night, and then you can put it over nachos for my kids one night. I'm going to put it over a sweet potato for myself. So don't be afraid to use leftovers. I think that's a great way, even to have leftovers as lunch is a great way to stay on track with healthy eating. And so leftovers aren't my favorite. I know that, but sometimes it just helps, and it helps save money so you don't have to go out and buy a whole new meal. So, well, that is all I have. I don't know if anyone else has any questions. I talked fast. I hope you got all the information. And I'll send a follow-up email with some of my favorite things.
Yeah, no, this was so helpful. Thank you. I've just been trying to watch you because I'm not good at this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I have my Instagram on the email. I'm every day with Alex. So I love talking to people about this. I love helping people. So if anyone has any personal questions, I know it's hard. It's also, I talk to a lot of people that don't like to cook. And so that's hard. And a lot of times what I tell people with eating healthy and meal planning is, remember your why. Your why is you want to eat healthy, you want to feel good. And I think that's what will keep you motivated to cook and cook for your kiddos too.
Thanks, Alex. Do you guys have any other questions? Hannah, Tina?
No, thank you.
Was this helpful? I feel like I talk so quickly.
It was very helpful. And I feel like especially tomorrow when I actually eat breakfast that I made, which is the overnight oats, I'm going to be so grateful to you for a good breakfast.
Right. I think a lot of it is, it's like these small wins that we have as moms. It's like, oh my gosh, you know what? I have a meal ready to go for me, right? And we take so much time feeding our kids and, taking care of them that I think you guys have little kids, so you have a lot less time than me. But at one point, it's like, I would need to take care of myself a little bit. And I think just that overnight oats, that's a win. Be proud of yourself for doing that. I love that.
Definitely. And I also love what you said, Alex, about, it was just at the end here, but you were saying, the pulled chicken, you put on one thing for your children and then you put on something else for you. I don't need to be eating what my 2-year-old wants to eat.
No.
I can have something healthy, but I can put it on a sweet potato, which I love.
Right.
And he doesn't even like to look at. So this is really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest way. I mean, I talk to a lot of people, like I said, that make 4 meals a night. One likes chicken nuggets, one likes this. And I was definitely a product of that. But now what I've done is sort of find an entree that everyone will eat. And there are occasions where I do, because I like to cook, where I will make a curry chicken and my kids are like, no way. And that's when I bring in the grilled chicken, right? That's when I have something, or I say my kids are old enough where you can make yourself a sandwich. But I think teaching them those sort of habits a little bit and just switching around your sides, I think is a game changer. I still eat a lot of steamed vegetables, even though I would love roasted vegetables, but my kids will eat it steamed, but sometimes I'll put a salad for myself or I'll cut up vegetables for them. So just being a little more creative about it and having things accessible in your fridge, like cut up vegetables and washed fruit is really, really a game changer for sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. You guys are so sweet. Let me know if you need anything, but this was totally an honor and I love doing this. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Have a good night.
Okay. Bye.
Good night.